In July of 2023, First Horizon in Cleveland hired a bank president, Logan Young. He's from Polk County. He's a good friend of mine, and he's a very nice guy. I'm looking forward to this discussion, and hope you enjoy. So Logan, I'm glad you came in today.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Is it wet? Or I think we're finally getting the cold weather, aren't you?
We are. It was dry for a while. We've had rain the past couple of weeks, but I've enjoyed it. I've got to spend a little bit of time at home got a young daughter, so our weekends when it rains are spent at home, and we've enjoyed it, so no complaints.
What is she, like 1 now or 1.5?
She's 17 months old.
17, I was proud of her.
You were close.
Yeah, what's her name?
Blakely.
Blakely.
Yeah. So,
where'd that name come from?
my wife came up with it. That's a question for her, so I just agreed to it.
So it wasn't a relative or nothing, just...
No, but what we did do, so my mom, her middle name is Kay, spelled K-A-Y. Haley's mom, her middle name is Kay as well, K-A-Y-E. So we did name Blakely, her middle name is Kay, and it's K-A-E, so we're gonna keep that going. But Blakely is not, that didn't come from anywhere, Haley came up with it.
On the courthouse square at 30 2nd Street is the law firm of Logan Thompson Law. Since 1965, they have served the legal needs for the good citizens of Cleveland-Bradley County. If you've got a problem, they're no problem. Give them a call.
Is your family originally from Polk County?
My mom's side of my family, so they're actually from Reliance, Tennessee.
So like Web Store?
Web Store. And we spent a ton of time up there growing up. So,
boy, I love Web Store.
Oh, it's beautiful up there. Web Store to Hiawassee Outfitters. I spent every summer up there.
Was you ever a guide or anything?
No, we went down all the time. We would just take tubes up and float down.
Did you ever go across the swinging bridge?
No, I don't believe Go across Web Store,
yeah,
and then go all the way up. That's actually where they put in, where Webb's and Hiawassee Outfitters, They put in very close there. I had been across that bridge.
I call it the swinging bridge.
Right. So we would take a lot of our summers, and we would go up to Hiawassee Outfitters, me and a few friends, and we called it the trestle. We'd climb up on the trestle, sit until a train came or until we got hot and jump in, and then do it again. We spent a lot of summer days doing that.
Boy, those type of days are you can't recreate them.
You can't. And it was a great way to grow up. I hope that children now, my little girl as well, I hope that she gets to experience that. So, and we lived in Delano, in that area, and we didn't own a ton of land, but our house backed up to the Cherokee National Forest. So to us, we had the Cherokee National Forest, that was ours.
The whole thing?
The whole thing. To us it was. And so we spent our summers either going up and jumping off the trestle in the Hiawassee River and going up and floating down Devil Shoals, or we went out to the Cherokee National Forest and hiked and camped and rode our four-wheelers and just lived life. It was great.
It's nice to be able to do it and not have to own the land, too.
Oh, it's great. It was, yeah.
I was looking on the Google Maps yesterday, something up around Polk County, and I saw the label Delano, and right below it said Wetmore. Is Wetmore a community?
It is, and I should know more specifically where Wetmore is as compared to Delano. My understanding is that Delano is on one side of 411, and Wetmore is on the other.
Wonder what the history of Wetmore is.
I'm not sure.
Have no idea.
I'm not sure.
I believe the first Polk County courthouse was close to there. It might have been where that Subway sandwich is as you're going out on the right.
Okay, it may be. I'm not sure. So I actually spent a lot of I lived in Delano, basically the same house growing up until I was in high school. But I spent a lot of my time actually in the Etowah area. So my mom worked and retired from Etowah Utilities, And so up until I started sixth grade, I actually went to Etowah City School. So, and then I went to a basketball camp. Coach Lowry, Frankie Lowry, who's actually on the discussion.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Frank.
Great guy.
Great guy.
He was my basketball coach. But prior to that, I really didn't know him. I went to this basketball camp between my 5th and 6th grade year. Frankie Lowry was there. I know him as Coach Lowry. But he recruited me. He said, hey, Logan, I know where you live. You've been coming here for a few years. Why don't you come to Chilhowie Middle School and play basketball for me? I said, let's do it. So that's how I ended up going to Polk County.
Well, you were right in between.
I was right in between.
If it wasn't for your mother working in Etowah, you might have gone that way.
That's right. So I spent a lot of time really in both communities. But that stretch from Ocoee to Etowah is a beautiful, beautiful stretch. You have the Hiwassee River, you cross the Hiwassee and Ocoee rivers. You have Parksville Lake not far away and a beautiful view of the mountains as well.
Ocoee, now that's when you go.
That's south.
That's south.
That's heading to Georgia.
That's this side of Tinga, what
Right.
they call Tinga.
Right.
Well, I remember. You remember when the post office there got tore down by a tornado?
I do.
That wasn't too long ago,
It
was
wasn't.
it? I don't think they ever built it back. I think they had
haven't.
septic issues.
I'm not sure what it was, but it's not there anymore.
You ever go up there much anymore, or is it like just in the past?
I passed by there. My mom still lives in it's called Benton, but Hiwassee Estates, closer to Etowah, kind of between Benton and Etowah. So we go through there a lot. Don't spend a ton of time there now. I know that Ocoee's going to expand here soon. They're now getting a food city. There's been some other retail pop up, and I've heard some rumors of a couple subdivisions coming. So they're due for that. I think it's good.
I like going up there. It's quiet and it's real calm, and I ride my bicycle up there a lot.
If I need to be reminded of where I'm from, it's a great place to go visit.
What about now, Etowah? When you lived in Delano, so your family would shop in Etowah grocery stores?
We would. Bilo, Johnson's, Don Webb. Johnson's was a great place to shop as well.
And the Kentucky Fried Chicken just passed it.
The KFC, that's right.
What about did you go to the Amish a lot? I guess it was right there.
Very close by. Very close by.
You know, I drove over here a while back and went all the way around that loop. It's back in time, isn't it?
It is.
Even the cash registers, it's just an old.
I haven't been to the Amish market in a while.
Well, this time of year, they just have like honey and blankets and corn cobs and stuff like canned stuff. But boy, they bring all that stuff, they bring it in the bottom and carry it up the stairs.
I think I would enjoy, I say this, maybe I wouldn't, to go spend a week with them, to see how they live.
Oh, I could join a simple life. I mean, just think what we go through during the week and what they go through. I mean, who's living, us or them?
It's hard to argue it's not them, isn't it?
It really is. They're Mennonites, right? Not Amish, I think.
That's correct. You know, we spend a lot of time through the week where everyone's very busy, just for a little bit of time to unplug and relax on the weekends and to turn our cell phones off and be with family.
Do you imagine if I did this on a weeknight? Me and you'd both be nervous. We'd be a nervous wreck thinking about. It takes me Sunday afternoon to get back to myself.
Yep.
Now you've been in the. Did you go to college right after high school?
I did. So I went to Tennessee Wesleyan. I stayed local. I really didn't. I actually studied marketing.
Did you drive there every day?
I did.
Not far. What was it?
30 minutes at most. I work for Lonza going through school, and my mom is ultra conservative, almost to the point where she'd be considered cheap, and she drilled into me, hey, stay off student debt, drive to school, work through school at Lonza. Ended up driving back and forth. I would go to class a lot of times on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then on Tuesday and Thursday, I would actually drive to Alpharetta and work for Lonza's product commercialization team, trying to get pool supplies. You would probably know it more familiarly as Owen and Arch Chemicals, but it was getting their products into Walmart stores, and I would read their labels, make sure that they matched up with dosage amounts, and
Golly.
did that going through school.
How'd you get that job?
I just got lucky, applied for it. I was actually working, kind of the first summer was spent here working for just answering the phones and answering pool questions, and then they ended up keeping me and just advanced from there. So just gradual steps, but never really thought I would get into banking. Didn't go to school for banking.
What was your major?
Originally it was physical therapy, and then they talked me into switching. Lonza did. I thought I would end up working for them in Alpharetta. They talked me into switching to business. That was the route I was going to take, and then was graduated, and then not long after was leaving a UT football game and ran into Joe Waters.
Oh, Joe. Well, I love Joe.
He's a great guy, and he gave me my opportunity into banking. So at the time, that was First Volunteer. And I went to Etowah and worked for Joe Waters in Etowah for First Volunteer. And that was my start in banking. I opened accounts, made a little bit of loans, and tried to learn the system.
About what year was that you were in Etowah working?
So, well, I graduated in 2015 and started there just right after school, just a couple months later. So that was in 2015.
Well, you're young, aren't you?
30. Got a birthday coming up. So I'll be 31 soon.
Well, I remember when I was 30.
Does it seem long ago?
In some ways, it seems like an ancient past, and in some ways, it seems like yesterday, just depending on what subject you're talking about.
Well, it doesn't seem like long ago that I was working at First Volunteer. Goes by quick.
Yeah. So, but when I met you, you were already at Capstar.
I was. So I worked for First Volunteer for about a year, and I ended up getting into business lending a little bit, and used Valley Title Services out of Athens, Sweetwater Valley Title.
I've been to them.
Didn't know this, but Valley Title was owned by Athens Federal.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a call from Jeff Cunningham one day. Jeff was the president and CEO of Athens Federal. And he said, hey, I know that you've had some loan closings at Valley Title. Let's meet. If you've met Jeff, I know you have.
Yeah.
We just met at his office downstairs, very casual, and he said, hey, I want you to come be a commercial lender at Athens Federal. And I don't think I knew what a commercial lender was, but it sounded like a good opportunity to me, and I got to go to the big city of Athens. And so I took the opportunity to go to Athens Federal with Jeff.
Jeff's no dummy, is he?
He is a smart guy.
He is really smart.
Very thoughtful, very charismatic.
If he says something, you can figure he either knows it or he's thought it out for a pretty long time.
Well, if he asks you a question, I found that out early. He knew the answer to every question he ever asked me. So he's a great guy, and consider him a mentor. So I went to work for them. That was in 2016. He sent me up to Madisonville for a little while to work there, and we grew that market, had a good run there. And then in 2018, I came to Cleveland that same year. That was when Capstar bought Athens Federal, was in 2018. So I got to spend time with Jay Leggett, great banker.
He's a great banker.
He's now, after 2018, after the merger, he retired not long thereafter and went to Yale to study archaeology. So
what a story, isn't it?
It
Him
is.
doing that.
It is. I need to catch up with him and see how he's doing. But
I do too.
I know he's been on a few digs and did really well in banking. I think he's having a good second career as well, doing what he really enjoys.
He was, that was odd for him to be because he was very successful in banking.
He was.
And then just to turn and do something totally different, and he'll be successful in that too.
He will. He will. I was very fortunate that I got hired by Jeff, and then got the opportunity not long after to work with Jay. Getting to work and be around people like that just transcended my career, and I'll be forever grateful for them. And I could run through a bunch of names of people that I got to work with that invested in me, and that's what made the difference, and really why I got the opportunity that I have now at a young age.
You ever wonder if education is not the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, but it may be that it's not what you know, but who you get to know.
It is.
I mean, you can actually seek these people out and just saddle up next to them.
Well, and you can't connect the dots looking backwards, but it's very true. And think back to high school, and I'll do the same, or college, and think about sitting in a room full of people. And let's say that you got to pick one person and for the rest of their career, you got 10% of their earnings, and you get 24 hours to think about this. Is it going to be the smartest person that you pick? Probably not. Now, that's not a bad quality. It's not wrong to be the person that makes the highest grades, but that's typically what I found from being around these people. That's not always the quality that separates the individuals who do really well from the rest. It's
And I'm not sure what the quality is. Are you? I mean, I've really.
Well, I spend a lot of time thinking about it because I've aspired to be like those people, like Jeff and Jay and Shane Sewell, and they're very honest. They're very energetic. They connect with people really well. But it's not always just the ones who get the best grade or have the highest IQs. But it's a bunch of qualities that you think about, like Ben Franklin or the Boy Scout code.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not.
And
always
I think a lot of it is consistency. One thing those people have is a very consistent lifestyle. I've noticed they're not, in and out or something.
That's right. That's right. They show up every day. They want to do the right thing. They care about people. They connect well. It's all of those, but it's hard to put. You're right. It's hard to put your thumb on what exactly it is.
I think, and going back to just using those two guys as an example, they both boil things down to their simplest form. They don't complicate them. Sometimes I complicate stuff because I've had issues before, and now I'm thinking of those issues too. But they have an ability to just kind of boil them down to their simplest form, and not maybe not put regulations where there's not necessarily rules. Does that make sense?
It does. I remember not long after I joined Athens Federal, I was tasked with going and reading some of Jay Leggett's credit memos. So at Athens Federal, the RMs, the lenders, would prepare their own credit memos. That's not necessarily common in today's world, but Athens Federal was a relatively small bank, and we would go through a background request, primary source repayment, secondary source, and Jay could summarize a pretty complex deal in a page and a half, 2 pages. And you would go look at somebody else's and they would be 20. But you could get so much more out of what Jay put on just 2 pages.
Wonder where he learned that.
I don't know. He worked with a lot of good bankers, so I don't know if it came from them, but that's a good question.
I'd like to ask him that one time.
Yeah, you should.
He came by here Friday. I missed him.
Yeah.
He just stopped by.
He was, like I said, he was just one of those individuals that I was very fortunate to have the office beside of. Jeff, the same. I was fortunate to spend a lot of time with him.
It makes you, and there's a lot of people that influence us that they really don't even know they've influenced us.
They don't.
And if you told them, it'd be a little awkward.
That's right.
But you could say, hey, so-and-so, you don't know it, but I've been watching you, and you've really inspired me over the years. And, you never know who we do that to.
Right.
And there may be somebody, may not be anybody, but there may be somebody.
Well, and that goes back to the consistency. You want to remain consistent because someone is watching most of the time, and you want to be that positive influence.
It's almost like Santa Claus. Santa Claus is watching you.
What a good time, huh?
Like that song.
Right.
I was listening to that song the other day. It says, I forget what it was. Santa Claus is watching you. I thought, boy, that's about like everybody. Everybody's Santa Claus. They're all watching me.
Well, and especially now, everything gets, if one thing goes wrong, it ends up on social media.
Yeah.
And
I heard somebody the other day, I said, all people do so-and-so. I forget what it was. It was like, cowboys wear cowboy hats. They said, no, they don't all wear cowboy hats, but I'm not meaning all. So you almost go to the extreme in talking to people anymore. They say, well, you said all of them do. No, I didn't mean all of them. I meant as a rule. So people are getting to where they're getting to where they really go into exactly what you say on some stuff, but want you to be vague in others.
Yeah. Well, people get offended. I showed up with a Starbucks coffee this morning.
I've got the whole series of cups over there. I go by there every morning.
Do you?
Every single morning.
There are people who take offense to you drinking a cup of coffee from Starbucks, and I just don't think
They had never drunk it because it's got something in it that makes me. I've gone there every morning for 8 years.
Well,
$3.50. And you know, they say, well, it's real expensive, but if you do their app, you get a free one at your birthday. You get a free one every seventh one. It averages to probably less than $3.
yeah. Well, and I just don't think that where you buy your coffee has a whole lot to do with who you are.
It has nothing to do with it. What I like about them is they package it this time of year almost like a small present. Have you noticed that? Because when they hand you that, what kind do you drink?
I actually drink a chai tea latte with a shot of espresso.
That's pretty sweet.
It is pretty sweet.
I like I just get the pack.
And I can, if I'm at home, it's just a cup of black coffee. But if I go somewhere,
if I drink it here, I've got Starbucks Pike Place coffee, but it's not the same. I guess that Keurig doesn't put the water in it exactly right or something. But that other kind I got it from Bargain Barn. Called V Coffee.
that's how they keep you coming back. Is it's a little bit different than what they make. Huh?
Yeah, but I like the other two a little bit. It's just real cheap coffee. But that Pike Place is from Starbucks is the one. And you know, you can't hardly walk in there and get a cup of coffee. You'll be in a hurry. And you'll say, I'm trying not to see anybody. And you go in and grab it, and you're leaving. As you're leaving, one of their employees will say, have a nice day. So I don't know. I guess they train them that way.
They've done a good job.
They've about done away with all the seats in there. It's just mainly
Right.
And then you see these places on the side of the road that are doing these trailers now, and they got coffee, and that's a good idea, but you have to have a good product.
You do.
And Starbucks has got a good product.
That's right.
You just can't have a good idea or a good system. You got to have a good product.
That wins over time, doesn't it?
It wins over time. It will outdo a system or outdo chaos or something like that if you have a good. It's like a good restaurant with good food will probably. Speaking of that, have you ever eaten at GG's over there in Benton?
I haven't. Where is it?
It's where the old pizza place used to be. After you get up, you go down 64, take a left, and it's on the left.
I'll have to try.
They've got the best food you'll ever eat.
It's on 64?
It's on. You go 64 and take a left on 411.
Okay.
And they're on the left before you get to Benton. That's the best food you'll ever eat.
Haven't tried it.
It is good.
We go to the Damn Deli quite a bit.
I've been there.
Up that way.
There's more of a sandwich type.
It is. They have fish and burgers.
Some fried stuff.
They do. They do.
You ever go to the Gondolier up there? Go past there on the left. You know, it used to be Woody's Drive-In. You're probably too young
I don't remember that.
It used to be Woody's. You know, I bought that and stayed vacant for 6 years.
The Gondolier building?
Yep. And it was Woody's Drive-In. They went out of business. I bought the building. It sat there for 6 years. And then I sold it to Monos. And then I renovated it. The only money I made was in the renovation.
Does he still run that Gondolier up there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Or one of his cousins or something like that.
Right.
Theo used to run it.
I go to the one here quite often. I know that you do as well.
I go there about every Friday.
It's tough to beat.
It's tough to beat. It's consistent, and you know what you're going to get.
Right.
There's so many more restaurants around.
They just keep popping up.
They just keep popping up, and they're getting more and more specialized. And speaking of restaurants, you ever eat at Calfee's convenience store on 64 Highway?
I have.
Boy, it's good.
Had a biscuit from there.
Boy, that's good biscuit.
It is.
I don't know what they do to it.
I don't either.
But it's
convenient to stop by there.
I went by there one morning about 6:30, and I videoed it. You would not believe the traffic they have at 6:30. It was like Grand Central Station. Everybody standing waiting for a biscuit and getting gas, and I mean they've just got a big business going. But even lunch too, they got bologna sandwiches.
Just people headed to work that early?
I guess and you say, well, it's working class. Not necessarily. It's just they've got really good biscuits in the morning because you can get gas, you can get biscuits, get a Coke, and get gone. Get a cup of coffee.
They've been there a while, haven't they?
They've been there a long time.
Now, I don't remember them ever not being there.
No, I think Victor died here 2 weeks ago. It must be the main one.
Yeah.
There's so many of those Calfies, I don't know.
Well, I hope it stays.
When you lived in Polk County, I guess you came to Cleveland a lot, just like anybody else would, right? It wasn't like you were in another country. You were as much in Cleveland as you were there, I guess, right?
Well, when we came to Cleveland, it felt like it was a treat, like we were going out. Like for us, it would feel like if you and I were making a trip to Knoxville. It wasn't over the weekend maybe we would come, but it wasn't often. If we needed to go to the grocery store, we went to Etowah. The Bilo was in Etowah, and we would make a trip up there. And we spent a lot of time just in Polk County.
When you came to Cleveland, did you go down Bowater Road?
We did. We did.
What do they call that? The Bowater 500?
That's right.
Boy, they fly down that road.
My goodness, they did.
Golly.
So my brother built, there used to be a caution light on Bowater Road. Now there's a Dollar General right there on the corner.
Yep, right there at the four-way.
So he built the chicken houses just right past those on the left as if you're headed towards Charleston.
I know right where you're at.
He built those, he lived across the road on the right. Lived there for a few years. He ended up moving, he lives now in Villa Rica, Georgia. But my goodness, people would fly by there.
They will fly, and if you're not local, they'll give you a ticket.
They will. They will. They'll give you a bigger ticket if you just keep going down the road to Calhoun.
If you get to Calhoun, you're going to get a ticket.
If you're going 40, mark it down.
37.
Yeah.
It's a shame, isn't it?
It is. It is. When did the Hardys shut down right there?
I don't know. I think they shut down because so many people were getting speeding tickets. I mean, that's the truth. You could not go there without. I had a guy that got a ticket for parking on the side of the road when he went into there, and he was on the parking lot side. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out why the only restaurant in Calhoun went out of business, because the police would sit right there and give you a ticket. Because when you go across that, when you went right past there, you got a ticket if you're going 36.
Yeah, it's a speed trap.
Now that you're the president of
Market
First
president for Cleveland. So we have 2 locations here in Cleveland.
Now, that used to be, from a Cleveland person's standpoint, that used to be Cleveland Bank and Trust. No, First Horizon. Before that, it was
First Tennessee.
First Tennessee. Before that, it was Cleveland Bank and Trust. And I think before that, it might have been Cleveland National or something way back, because my grandmother, somebody used to work for Cleveland National, and it became Cleveland Bank and Trust, which was Max Everhart and Arthur McMurray, and I think Arthur McMurray.
So Sam McReynolds.
Sam McReynolds, yeah.
Sam's still there.
Oh, is he still there?
He's still there.
So he still comes in?
Nearly every day.
Does he wear socks anymore? Does he still wear no socks?
I don't know. I'll find out tomorrow.
Well, he won't be wearing socks.
He's there almost every day. He'll come in and plays golf a couple times a week, but he's very regimented. And a great guy, another great mentor as well.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is the banking business more complicated now than it was when you first started?
It is. It is.
In this short amount of time, you've been loaning money for how long?
8 years.
So it's changed in 8 years?
A lot.
Would it have changed a lot since even Jay left?
Yes.
Golly.
And I haven't asked Jay this, but Jay's a smart guy. He might have seen that coming. And it changes too with the asset size of the institution you work for as well. So it changed a lot going from Athens Federal to Capstar. So Athens Federal is $440 million in total assets. Capstar now is $3 billion. Now they weren't that at the time of the merger, but they were a bigger bank. So it changes a lot when that happens. And then it changed from going from $3 billion to $80 billion. What First Horizon is.
Who regulates that? Is it different? I mean, what makes the difference?
Well, the type of lending that each institution wants to do makes a difference.
Is that regulated by the federal government or the state?
It depends, both. And you have internal regulators as well. Mm-hmm. But their risk appetite's different as well. So at Athens Federal, for instance, they didn't want to loan their balance sheet. So they didn't necessarily want to make loans to someone who wasn't typically a client of theirs. They didn't basically want someone borrowing their balance sheet. That changed a little bit at Capstar. Capstar had an influx of funds, like all banks did, from PPP. So they were a little bit more, a little looser with what they wanted to do because they had the cash on their balance sheet. And then things have tightened back up with quantitative tightening, funds going, money going out of the banking
What is
system.
quantitative tightening? Can you
So
go into that?
that's essentially funds, dollars being taken out of the system. So there's not as much money in circulation today as there was during COVID or PPP, because there was $2 trillion pumped into the banking system, into the financial system, and so that's starting to go away. So banks are tightening down on what they want to do, and it's getting back to banks want to not loan out their balance sheet. They want to make sure that, if we loan someone money, that they're our clients, which means that we have their deposits as well. That ebbs and flows quite a bit. But the risk appetite's changed. 2 years ago, you could have probably done a deal with 15% down, 20% down, and it would cash flow. Today, that doesn't work because rates are higher.
Yeah.
And so you don't see as many multifamily deals, for instance, because you don't see them for sale. But two, you don't want to, borrowers don't want to inject 30, 40% into a project and then also have to become a client. So it has changed quite a bit.
And a lot of people don't just have cash laying around. That our whole system is based on leverage, I guess.
It is.
And they say, oh, well, you shouldn't leverage. Well, that's what the banks are doing. It's what the insurance company. If it's good for them, why isn't it good for me?
Right. And people have made a lot of money with leverage.
Everybody that taught me always taught leverage.
That's right.
They may have been wrong, but they were rich.
There's something to
So,
that.
I mean, the people that tried to save and pay for it as you go, they never got to the links that the people that were that really thought about leverage.
Yeah. I agree. And that's
Well, there's a lot of arguments to that, though, isn't there? A lot of people will see that in a different way.
we'll have Dave Ramsey on. He'll argue.
Dave Ramsey would argue that.
He's done well. And he's got a lot of people out of debt. But there's, to his credit, to his point, there's good debt and bad debt. And a lot of times consumer debt is bad debt.
Yeah, and consumer debt would be like a car.
A car,
But then you go
a credit card.
But then you say, okay, I've got a car that, for instance, you buy a used car for 18, you buy a new one for 27. Well, the dealership's going to give you 72 months of whatever 4% or whatever it is now, but it's really it'll be really cheaper than the bank. And you're going to have a warranty and et cetera, or you buy a used one for 18, you got to pay for it now. Well, you pay for it now you're out of the cash.
Right.
Well, now you're out of the cash. Well, you can't fund your IRA, you can't pay your life insurance.
You definitely can't invest.
You can't invest. Now where are you at? You got the car paid for, that's a depreciating value,
And you have no cash.
and you have no cash. I would rather have the new car financed and take the money that I've still got in my pocket and buy life insurance and an IRA and fund some type of long investment, because that money's cheap.
The problem is that you don't see a lot of people who are disciplined enough to take those funds and do that. They want to take it and use it on things that they'll go buy dinner 5 nights a week or whatever it may be, and that's okay. But you need to save as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Charlie Munger passed away not long ago. And
What, 2 weeks ago or something?
2 weeks ago, Charlie's the vice chairman of Berkshire, was the vice chairman of Berkshire along with Warren Buffett, and his number one principle was to save more than, or to, goodness, I'm going to butcher this, to save more than you earn. I could be misspeaking there, but he wanted to make sure that everyone saved money. And you don't see that a lot. On my end, we see a lot of, especially younger people with student debt, with credit card debt, and it's really, it's tough to get ahead when that's the case.
I remember when I was growing up, the big thing was that they would give what was that? They had you'd get a savings bond.
You don't see those anymore.
You don't see, I don't even know if anybody would know what they are.
Can you buy them? I should know that, but I don't think
even
you
know. You remember on Andy Griffith when they found out Otis had a savings bond and the amount they owed him was like it would bankrupt the town or something. Remember that episode?
I do.
But I just wonder if I just thinking, I don't ever remember cashing any, but I remember always getting them. But it was like always $25 or $50, you know.
I wonder what they'd cash in for now.
I don't even know if I've got them. I don't even know. I have to think about that.
Haley, my wife, she ended up having one just a few weeks ago, and I can't remember what the dollar amount of the bond was or what the cash value was. But
so she cashed it in?
She's
real smart.
It's probably sitting at the house somewhere.
She's probably more organized than me and you.
Oh, she is. But that's not saying much on my end. So
you're very organized. I figured that out.
Well,
you wouldn't have gone as far as you did. But you mentioned that with that pull and the old one, and you just kept moving up. That's no accident.
Well, I've had really good people. I was raised well, and I've been fortunate. It was just these most gradual steps that it was never like this shock moment where it was like, oh wow, you're the market president of a bank at a relatively young age. That didn't happen because I just had these gradual steps where I went to Athens Federal and got into commercial lending when I was 23, which is pretty young to do that. But I just had these great people around me where it didn't feel like I was really young because I always had them around for advice and they pointed me in the right direction. And then I came to Cleveland and did some bigger deals here. But it was okay because I had Jay there. And then Jay left, and so I had a little bit more market responsibility at that point. But it's very gradual because I got to work with Jay and see how he did things. So it worked out, but there was never a moment where it felt like it was too much or that I was the young guy in the room.
You seem like the kind of guy to me that would take advice and take directions and try to take it to heart.
Well, I do, and this is a little bit different, right? Because here I'm speaking more. Usually I listen a lot more than what I speak, and that's paid dividends, I think.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this: do you think that that if the banking has changed in the last 8 years, to where, using Jay as an example, it would be different now than he did, and then Jay would say the same thing about the person that hired him. Where's it going to go? I mean, I see now where X, or formerly known as Twitter, is going to be starting to do banking apps.
Well, 20 years ago, would it have been crazy to pick up your phone and order a cup of coffee?
20 years ago, if you picked up your phone to order a cup of coffee, they would have sent you in a straitjacket because why would you spend that? Coffee's free at Cleveland Plywood and all these other places. So that's how it's changed.
But if you or I wanted to, we could order a cup of coffee. We could have a pizza here in 30 minutes.
20.
From an app on it without talking to anyone.
Without talking to anyone.
And so it's got to be headed that direction.
It has to be. It has to be. Why would we think it's not?
So I think there's still a need for a banker to sit down and have a conversation with a borrower. But a lot of people my age, they don't want to come into a bank. They don't want to talk to the gentleman there. They prefer just to get on their phone and send everything in and wait.
I don't know if my kids will even know what a check is. I don't even know if they could write a check because they would do it on their phone or a debit card or.
Yeah, and
checks are almost antiquated. I mean, I'm still writing out the checks in long forms. I mean, that's even kind of odd.
There's a lot of bigger companies that don't do that can get through it with ACH and going online to make payments. And
You know, I've got this guy that owes me $500 from Chattanooga, and so they called him and said, "Hey, when you going? Can you pay?" And he said, "Yeah, I would, but I don't have any checks." This is a guy that owns more than me and you. He's no fly by night guy. This guy owns tons of stuff in Chattanooga, and he has no checking account. He can't mail me a check. He's asked if we were on Venmo, something like that, and then he asked if we had something else. We didn't have that, nothing else. So I mean, he doesn't have a way to pay me.
well, we get a lot. We have some short-term rental properties, and if someone doesn't book through our online platform, it's Venmo exclusively.
What is Venmo? I don't even know what it is.
It's if you bought me a cup of coffee, and I was going to pay you for that, I could send it to you through Venmo. Then you could just transfer it to your bank.
But when does it become green dollars?
Well, when you transfer it to your bank, and then you can go to your bank and
Cash it?
withdraw it as cash.
Will Venmo give me cash?
No,
So there's basically just
it's just a platform.
they're a spreadsheet.
They're a spreadsheet. It's a platform where you can transfer money from individual to individual or individual to business. It's
Rather than a check.
rather than a check.
You know what I'm always afraid of that is not being able to, not remembering to take the deduction. So say you bought a piece of equipment for a job you're doing, and it's $200, and they send it to Venmo or PayPal or whatever. It goes into my account.
There's no paper trail.
There's no paper trail. Now, where does the IRS know? When do I write it off? You say, well, it's just $200. Don't worry about writing it off. You can't have that attitude. You'll go broke. You have to say, that's a deduction. One thing is I've got to get reimbursed from the job, plus we've got to deduct it. So, I mean, it's $200 deductible item off taxes is worth, $60, $40 to $60.
That's a good question.
Now, I guess you could remember.
But if you have a few of those add up during the day, and during the week, and during the month.
Next thing you know, it's $5,000.
So will there always be a place for a check, or a local banker? I sure hope so.
You got to figure there is.
You're right. But banks are getting more and more creative and figuring out ways to cut cost, and if they can have you talk to a machine instead of talking to an individual, I think we'll probably see that more.
People are always going to be needing to borrow money. That's the key. Because we've just said that people don't save money like they did in the past. So you always got to borrow money. So if you're going to borrow money, it might as well be. And a computer's not going to just throw you $50,000 because you push the buttons.
Well, go to Rocket Mortgage and you could take out a loan today.
That would scare most people.
But people who are 30 or under, they do it all the time, and they're okay with it. So
I just don't think that's going to end well, but what do I know?
we'll see.
What do you think will happen next in this technologies and stuff? I mean, we talk about 20 years ago for coffee, and I wouldn't have thought before COVID I would have ordered a coffee online. That sort of sped that up.
It did.
So it's not been like 20 years for that. It's like 5.
Well, and now AI is coming along, and you've got, it may get to the point where AI knows that every morning at 8 o'clock you want a coffee, and it's waiting for you. So that could be coming. And technology is something that thinks for you, or you can actually use something called ChatGPT now, to where if you want to write a Facebook post, if I wanted to write a Facebook post advertising the discussion, I could go on there right now and say, help me promote the discussion, and give it a, one sentence about what the discussion is. It's a podcast hosted by Dee Burris. He has local guests on, and it'll write this incredible post that you can put on Facebook or wherever, YouTube. And so I think we see that more. and that'll do away with could do away with a lot of jobs, but give people more opportunities as well.
You know, I got one better than that. I sent this place some just bullet points about my wife, and they wrote a song for her, and I gave it to her for her birthday.
She isn't finding that out right now, is she?
No, it was I gave it to her. It wasn't that good, but
Okay.
but I knew enough to know this is going to be a thing at some point.
It will be. It will be.
This new technology, it's not a deterrent to the banking business. It actually helps the banking business.
We've embraced it. I can log on to my phone right now into First Horizon's app and see all of my accounts. That's a plus. I don't have to wait for a statement to come. We go right down here and go to an ATM and withdraw cash. We can send payments back and forth. So no, it's not all bad. And to go back to being able to apply for a loan online, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think it should make us better as local bankers to be more in touch with our community, to be able to say, hey, there are more ways that we can assist. Yes, you can go apply online, but we think that we're more familiar with this local market and can help you make the right decision. But technology is not a bad thing.
We have to deal with it, and First Horizon's dealing with it good.
Well, let's just embrace it.
Does Danya still work over there?
She does.
I went to high school with her.
Did you really?
Yep, I've known her. We've known each other our whole lives.
Wonderful lady.
She really is.
She is.
See, I think of her as a girl. Not you think of her, I guess, because she's.
I do.
A little old. Well, she's not that. She's my age, but she's been there since '85 or something.
She's been consistent. It's
She's
important.
very consistent. Very consistent. She's a good person. She really is.
She is. We talked about it earlier about interest rates rising, student loans. A lot of recent graduates graduate with a ton of student debt. Thinking long term or a little bit longer term about the future, I don't know what this next generation does for housing. That'll be interesting to see. I think right now it'd be tough to graduate from college. Let's say you go to Tennessee Wesleyan, great school. You graduate there and you come to work in the local market in Cleveland or Athens, wherever it may be. If you graduate with a lot of student debt, with rates at 8%, it's tough to find a house that you can afford with housing prices. And so I think that's a concern that local markets are going to face, and I don't know what the solution there is. So I'll lean on a builder.
Well,
what are your thoughts?
Well, I always have a little far out thoughts on stuff like this, but here's my thought, and I don't think it's anything new. If you go back to sort of recorded time, that they've kind of recorded sizes of dwellings, the average size of a house with two kids, a living room, a dining room, 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths, nice kitchen, is 1,650 square feet. That's the average size of the dwelling. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's back in the 90s, which was the era of excess, they called it. They were 4,000 and 5,000 square feet. I think the pendulum's going to swing to back to the average, because there's a reason there's an average. So I think it'll swing back to the average of 1,650 square feet for the average. Now, if you take that average and you take out the dining room, which is not, people do not have a hutch with china that their grandmother have and a place for 8 people to sit. So you could almost take the square footage of that out. And if you take the square footage of stairs out, because stairs will eat up 400 square feet, because you can't live in the stairs and it's going up and down. So when you do all of that, I think it's going to make the average house size back to 1,200 square feet. I know that sounds crazy, but it's not. It's going to happen. Because this new generation is...
Well, It is my generation. I'm close to that. I'm not too far removed.
You're not too far
from 22, 23 to understand it.
But you're slightly more mature or responsible. So I'm saying it's anywhere from 25 to 35. They are smart enough not to do like our generation, in my opinion. I could be
well. I
wrong.
hope that's the case.
But I think my generation it was all about how big a house you can get, and can you get a swimming pool and a bonus room for a pool table, and where we're going to have the weddings and all this other stuff. And it was the race to get 3 and 4 and 5,000 square foot houses. We put them on 30-year mortgages, and I think that this new generation is smarter than we were. And I think they're smart enough to say, this is what we need to be comfortable and safe, and I'm not going to work 8 months out of the year to live in something bigger. I want to live in something that's safe, efficient, and practical, and I'm going to take some really nice trips and take some really nice pictures and create some really nice memories. And that's different than my generation. It was all about how big of a house can you get to show up your friend. And here's another issue. You can take a house built in 1978 and you can go in there and you can look at their electric bill, and it'll be $280, $320 here in January. And you can go to a house the same size that's built in the last 5 years, and the electric bill will be $120. So we have to get these houses. These houses are more efficient now.
They are.
And so you can't spend another $200 a month just on a light in the bedroom.
Right. Well, I mentioned earlier, we have one daughter. We live comfortably in 1,200 square feet of our house that we have.
That goes back to my point.
We live in we have a dining room table that we set out for Thanksgiving, and we'll sit it again for Christmas, and then we'll see it again next Thanksgiving and next Christmas.
Right. Between now and then, you're watching TV of the evening.
That's it. And we're sleeping in our bedroom. But we, this generation, we do want to spend more on experiences, on going places and
experiences. That's a good word for it. That's a good word for it.
But
what did I say? For it.
But
I'm showing my raisin.
Well, and then going back to your point about saving money, hopefully the idea is you live in a home that you can afford comfortably. You get to pay for experiences and go see places and live a joyful life, and then you also get to save money so that you can retire and.
If you live in a 1,200, 1,400 square foot house and your electric bill's $120 a month, you don't need that much savings.
Do you lose any joy living in that house versus living in a bigger one?
I think it's more joy. I think this new generation has figured out that less is more.
I think so.
And I think we just kept climbing the ladder, and it was just a product of our upbringing too. So it wasn't wrong at the time. It's just that I think that people are not going to strive to work so hard for a front porch. And that's basically what it is. And I think that what we're going to have is, there's a company out of Canada. I bought some stock in it actually. And they make these prefab, it's called a boxable. And they make these little compartments. It's just a modern version of the mobile home. But they've got it down to a science. They've got like 68 patents. And the electricity's low. All you got to do is have the foundation, and it's going to, I think that's what's going to happen next. I think that 10 years from now, if you have a 4,500 square foot house and you put a for sale sign up, I'm not sure the 1,500 square foot house is going to will bring more money because, you know, you just can't afford the utilities and the property tax and, you know.
Not only can you not, you don't want to.
You just don't want
You
to.
don't want to.
They, you know, if you go up to, speaking of, you ever go up to, is it Von Orr and go up like you're going to, what's that, the Devil's?
The Dragon's Tail?
The Dragon's Tail, yeah. You ever go up there and go, what's that, Ball River Falls or Fall River?
Well, that's Bald River Falls is up in Tellico.
Yeah, Bald River Falls.
Now that's in Tellico. That's separate from the Dragon's Tail, but
I get it. I think I'm talking about Tellico.
Okay.
Because,
oh yeah.
Because Bald River Falls, it's right before you get to that, I guess it's a rafting company or a convenience store or something.
Yeah.
You go up there tomorrow on a Monday at 3 o'clock. You can't get in. People are wanting to have experiences. They're wanting to enjoy life. And I think because of 09's, 08 and 09's bad economy, and then you had 20 and 21's bad stay at home and all that stuff, I think people are wanting to get out. I mean, how are you going? I remember years ago, I know I'm rambling, but I was at the office one Sunday and I thought, boy, if I ever get rich, I'm going to take off Sundays. And I had just had enough. So I just left the office and drove to Harrison Bay. And I got down there and there were people in old cars with $20 fishing rods and a bag of hot dog buns, and they were having more fun.
They're having a great time.
So it doesn't matter how much money you can enjoy things without spending money. If you don't believe me, go to Bald River Falls tomorrow at 3 o'clock. It's packed.
That's right. It will be. It will be.
Hey, have you ever gone past there all the way up to the water tower? If you go all the way to the end, there's a water tower.
I don't think I've been up to the fish hatchery. But
isn't there a community there that never did sell out to the Cherokee National Forest? It's called Green Cove. Green Cove.
Green Cove. Yeah, you can go up there and stay.
They never did. They never did sell out to the Cherokee National Forest.
It's a neat place. It's been significantly remodeled over the past few years, and
I think Ed Lewis used to own a cabin up there.
Perry Philpott, he's a farmer out of Inglewood. He and his family run it. And they've done, to my understanding, really well with it.
Well, do they own the whole thing, or what? Is it separate owners? How's that work?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they own the land and there's a lease to the cabins on it, or if they own it all. But I know they have some rental places up there, and they stay full.
I know that I've rode my bicycle several times all the way up to the water tower, and when you come back down, you can stop at this place that has those real sour dill pickles. Not sour, dill pickles. Real. Well, that's good after you've been sweating.
Whew, I don't know.
They got those real big ones.
During this time of the year, and even a little bit later on in the year, we have in the past gone up, you don't get off at Bald River Falls, but keep going up to North Carolina. And
you don't take the right, you keep going straight.
Keep going.
Past the motorcycle place, the Harley Davidson place.
That's right. Go up to Indian Boundary, actually past there. And it gets cold up there this time of the year, but you can usually find some snow, and it's a beautiful view up there.
Isn't it like a 5,000 foot elevation?
It is.
It's huge.
It is.
Now, that's not the Dragon Tail.
No.
But if you keep going there, don't you end up in Cherokee, North Carolina?
You do.
Are you at the casino?
I've not been up that far.
I think if you keep going, you end up like right before you get to the, because they have like a place where you can buy, isn't that Sweetwater cheese place or something? They make homemade cheese.
That's up in Philadelphia. So if you were to take I-75 north, before you get to Knoxville, that's where the Sweetwater Valley cheese place is.
So, but there's another one at Fontana.
Oh, yes.
Fontana,
yes.
Yeah. Boy, that's really nice up there. And that's where the Percy, that forest is.
Is that?
What's that guy's name that wrote the poem about the tree? And Percy Maples? That's the wrong name. That's the wrong name. He wrote the poem about the tree. the forest up there. They got the red.
What's it called up there?
What's the name? Joyce Kilmer.
Joyce Kilmer.
Joyce Kilmer.
Yes.
Why do I always want to say poor person? But
That was close.
Joyce Kilmer. Joyce Kilmer. It ends right there.
Yes.
You ever been in there?
I have.
I haven't. Drove all the way up there, me and my wife, and we got out of the car, and we were going to go. I'd been looking forward to that for years. And somebody said, look out for bears. And that's all it took. We was ready to come back home. And I mean, there's people walking up, you'd hear, it was just one of those big argument days,
Another place you mentioned, Joyce Kilmer, I know this place you can go hike. We used to go out to Benton Falls all the time. Have you been up there?
Yeah. Well, what the old timers called McCamey Lake.
McCamey Lake. That's right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like what is it, about 20 minutes from Chilhowie down there?
It is. But it's a beautiful hike and a beautiful waterfall.
I'll tell you where to go. I went with George McCoy here a couple years ago. Somewhere in Georgia. And you hike 10 miles to this spot. And there's 100 people there swimming, eating lunch in the middle of nowhere. And I'm wanting to think it's
Is it down near Red Clay?
Nope, it's that way towards Benton, but you go to the right. It's in Georgia. I can't think. What'd you say that falls was at Fall
Creek Falls?
It's not Ball River Falls. Anyway, boy, that's what this new generation wants to do. That we only heard about.
I really hope they do. I hope my daughter wants to do all that stuff.
But I'm talking to you like you're my age.
Well, I hope you're right. I do. I hope that my daughter wants to get out and experience things and that the generation upcoming does.
That's what creates memories and creates life, and that's what life's about.
It is. We growing up, we did not get much for Christmas. Mm-hmm. What we did instead is we went places. I remember
on Christmas.
Around Christmas, that was our Christmas gift. Was just going places. And one year we went down and stayed.
That's a good idea.
It is. We went down. We've all got enough stuff, don't we?
Don't want nothing.
But we went down one year and stayed at the Chattanooga Choo Choo. It is 45 minutes away. Mm-hmm. I remember it. I don't know what I got for Christmas last year, but I remember when I was 9, I went and stayed at the Chattanooga Choo Choo. And I remember the next year we went up and stayed in Pigeon Forge.
Now, somehow or another, that was smart of your mother.
Yeah. Like I said, I was raised well, but it was. And
I remember one Christmas, me and my wife went to Destin, Florida.
You went to
had the best time.
And you remember
there was nobody there but me and her and some guy selling beans.
So tell me what she got you for Christmas last year.
We quit that.
Well,
years ago.
You wouldn't remember it anyways.
I wouldn't remember. I don't even want anything. I don't even want nothing.
Yeah. So I'm hoping my wife watches this and embraces that we should just go somewhere.
Your wife's smart. I believe she'll get it
is.
as quick as you will.
Yeah.
But, how long y'all been married?
Just a few years.
How many?
3. Coming up on 3.
Oh, Lord, you hadn't even begun to fight.
Well, it's been a good 3 years. It's a roller coaster, though.
Boy, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Golly.
It is. And life changed completely 17 months ago when we welcomed our little girl. For the better, but it did change.
Yeah, and 2 is 3 times as hard as 1. You hadn't had another one yet, have you?
No.
You got to have 2.
I'm telling you,
unfortunately.
It seems hard right now at times.
You got to have 2 because they have to have somebody to take care of them when y'all are gone. Right. That's very important.
Yeah.
They have to have a sibling. Siblings are important.
We went down, this was this past Thursday, and had dinner at Champy's. Just right here.
Yeah, right here.
Just right here. And it wasn't crowded. There was just a handful of people around. But Lakely's doing what a 17-month-old does.
Sure.
She's being loud, and she's throwing stuff occasionally.
Well, that's embarrassing, isn't it?
It is,
Golly.
but I've just got to the point where I'm like, just embrace it. Just enjoy it.
Well, the people sitting next to you understand.
I hope so. And
You
I've got-
think they don't, but they do, because
Well,
they had one too.
And if someone doesn't like the kid, it's probably not someone I want to spend a lot of time with anyway. So
I remember we went to Shoney's one time, and my oldest, he screamed so loud my wife had to leave.
Well,
We couldn't even eat.
I got up and walked her around 3 or 4 times. They've got a little fire pit outside, so we frequented that.
That's why they make Chuck E. Cheese.
Or should have went there instead.
That's why McDonald's has the playground.
Yeah, yeah,
That was a good idea, wasn't it?
yeah.
Did you ever go to the? This is back to where we were talking about Web Store. There's something about going up to Web Store and getting a Coke or a moon pie and sitting on that bench in front of it. There's just something magical about that.
Well, it starts when you turn off 411 on the
Uh-huh.
Highway 30, and you look down at your cell phone,
And it
you
goes
don't-
out.
and you don't have any
Don't
service.
have- you pass the campsite.
Yeah, and it doesn't. No one can reach you.
No one can.
You are with who you're with.
If there was trouble, the police couldn't even hardly find you.
No.
But when you get to that post office, I remember one morning I used to drink coffee with these guys, and we got to talking about it, and we said that we remembered that it had a post office in there because it's got the bars like a post office. And we got to thinking, if it's a post office, it's not open on Sundays. So if you had a piece of mail there, could you get it? We couldn't answer that question, so we actually loaded up and drove to Web Store that Sunday to see if the post office was open, could you receive mail? Because then it would be an open post office. And it was closed.
Huh.
You could not get mail, even if you had mail there, because the post office was not open, even though you could reach behind the counter.
My mamaw still lives up there.
Whereabouts, general location?
Keep going on past Webb's, on past Hiawassee Outfitters.
Well, isn't that postal? Don't they call that? Some people call that
I don't know,
postal.
I've not heard that. She lives close there. There's a 4-H camp up there, and she's actually closer to it. So, and it's not far from. She's probably.
She kind of on the very top of the hill.
She's not far. Yes, she's not far from Parksville Road.
Okay, so there's a isn't there like a funeral home midway there, or a funeral?
There's the Elks Lodge. There's a Greasy Creek Baptist Church.
Greasy Creek, yeah,
Greasy-
on the left, and then there's that place that used that 2-story convenience store on the left, which
Yes.
is Greasy Creek.
Yes.
They
yeah.
used to play foosball in there
Yeah.
years ago, before you too. But yeah, I think when you pass Web Store and pass the Outfitters on the left, it used to be on the maps. It's called Postal, and then you go across the mountain, you go on top of the hill. So, do you ever go see her?
I do.
Boy, that's so pretty up there.
It
isn't
is.
God, it's so
It
pretty.
is. Yeah, it's a good way to unwind.
What's her address? Would it be a Parksville, or because a lot of that's Parksville?
It's a Reliance address. I
Wonder how that got their name, Reliance.
I don't know.
It had to be something. You know, if you go to Reliance and to the Web Store and you go across and you go up to the right, you wind all the way back up to where you get to Turtletown. I mean, it's just a bunch of nothing.
You know, I need to find this out. I don't know how. My mom was raised up there. My grandmother still lives up there. How do you? I need to find this out. I don't know how you end up there.
That's, well, I tell
It
you
is
how,
a long ways
well,
out.
I tell you how they did, I think. I'm guessing. But most people from around here that were here, that their old families were here, were from Greasy Creek. They were from there. All the Reimers, I think the Joneses, they were all from Greasy Creek. And then I think the reason was, I'm drawing a blank. It might have been timber cutting or something. There was a reason. It was sort of an industrial type area. A lot of people came there. And then a lot of people from there migrated to down the mountain to to
What?
the stove foundries.
Okay.
Because the ones that, all the stove people here that started the stove foundries were from Greasy Creek, and they came to Greasy Creek because of, well, we need to get that more definite, don't you?
Yeah,
Well, how about McKimsey Highway? Have you ever been down it?
I have.
All the way, the whole way?
I would think so. Yeah.
I mean, did you end up at Turtletown?
Yeah.
Was it real dangerous?
It's been a while.
That's another trip I went to, my wife backed out of. Because it's supposed to be just down to one lane, right?
Yeah. Yep. It gets narrow up there.
Before 64 Highway, that was the route.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but see, where that road ends in Turtletown is really a what they call foreigner. And that used to be more populated than Bradley County because it was a spinoff of the coal mines. So things change.
And you don't, it's hard to imagine, isn't it, that area was more populated than here. You think that Walmart's always been Walmart.
Well, if
but
you
it
think,
wasn't.
you think about this, Wildwood Avenue, what we think is Wildwood Avenue. Well, they used to have one of the largest RV parks in the world.
Wow.
It's still an old mobile home site, but that used to be the main road, water level highway. So things change. Even right now, if you get off at exit 25, see, me and you think that's 25th Street.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not familiar with that area, it probably looks a little run down to you. But not to us. In our memory, it's, you know, McDonald's and Chalet and all that stuff. So,
well, think about Walmart. Walmart, they're huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was, I think they were started in 1960. Mm-hmm. Sears had just built a building in Chicago, Sears Tower. And Walmart came along, disadvantage in buying, disadvantage in borrowing, disadvantage in real estate. Advantage was Sam Walton, and that made a huge difference. And he put Sears out of business. You don't realize that that's really not that long ago. Think about Paul Huff. Paul Huff Parkway has not looked like Paul Huff Parkway.
I remember when it was not there, and they used to be all up in arms about bringing it through there, and they finally agreed to put it through there as long as there was not going to be any businesses on it.
What about
now, look at how long did that last?
There's a couple businesses there now.
I remember, I remember when Mouse Creek Road passed, Little Buddy's past Mr. Zip was gravel.
Well, change is mostly a good thing.
Now, when we talk about this new generation being into minimalism and not interested necessarily in money, you got to be, and somebody will be. So you got to be there. What we're doing is just trying to think of, if I was 20 now, of course you're already 30 and you're in the banking business, you're successful, and that's probably going to be your next trajectory for 10 or 12 years. But if you're 20, what are you going to get into? You have to, there's somebody 22 years old that's thinking about something that's going to make millions of dollars, and we don't even know what that is.
And it's going to be not necessarily Walmart, but it's going to be the next Walmart or the next Facebook.
Or the next, Bill Gates or Elon Musk. I think you can study that stuff and read about it and probably stay abreast to see what's going to happen if you don't just cover your head.
Well, and I'm a people person. I like people and connecting. And what I've found interesting is to look at the quality. I talked about it earlier. The quality of those people, or what makes them become those people. What are their characteristics that make those people be successful?
Yeah. So think about this. To that, would the Bill Gates, the Jay Liggett's, the Jeff Cunninghams, these people that we mentioned, if they was born in the 30s or the 40s or 3000, whatever, my guess is they would still be successful people.
They would be. Maybe not doing the same thing.
No, I almost think that's irrelevant. Does that make sense? In a sense.
They're just high quality people. But what led to that?
Maybe the money finds them.
Yeah.
Think about that.
They're high quality people who were intentional, high character, high energy.
My friend Gene Officer used to call it people of principle. I guess that was his way of putting it, the exact same thing as you're saying.
They don't cut corners.
But making money and becoming rich is very important, and that's what everybody needs to try to do, and that's what keeps this thing going that we call America. Is people are trying to get ahead, and that's the whole idea of capitalism, and we've got to have it, man.
Well, we do. But I'll tell you, I never took. I actually, when I graduated from college, I told you I ran into Joe Waters. I had 2 other offers. I turned them down because in each instance, when I went from doing what I was doing to going into banking, I went to work for people that I looked up to, or for institutions that I looked up to. And each time when I went from First Volunteer to Athens Federal, I got to spend time with Jeff, and I looked up to him, and I looked up to the institution that he had helped build. Actually, a couple times, I mean, when I went to First Volunteer, I took less money doing that. But I wanted to work with people that I could learn from. And that paid huge dividends. So, yes, making money is important, but working for people that you look up to, that you can spend time with and learn from, man, that helps to set you up.
It reminds me of something my friend Toby McKenzie told me. I guess you didn't know him, but he was worth a lot of money and did real well. He told me one time, I asked him, Toby, how do you hire such good people? And he said, well, I tell you, I hire people that are successful from where they come from, not successful where they're at. And I thought, boy, that's just too smart. That's just genius, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah. But it'll transcend your career if you can work with people that Jeff will never tell you he was the smartest guy in the room. Mm-hmm. Jeff was a lot of times the smartest guy in the room, and I got to be around him. Mm-hmm. It would have paid dividends for me to work for less money than what he paid me just to be around him.
It would pay a young person to pay him to just kind of sit on his porch for a while.
Yes.
He really is smart.
Yeah.
I've had him on here.
I listened to it. Yeah. I listened to it.
He's fit too, isn't he? Fit guy.
Yeah. So connecting with people like that makes a big difference.
Connections is a big thing. They say you're 6 people away from everybody in the world. You ever heard of that theory?
Well,
I don't know. 6 degrees of separation or something.
Right.
But it's hard to get them. I don't know if we could get connected to.
Well, banking's that way. I mean, it's if I want to do a deal for, name a company, the way that I can get into the door of that company is to find somebody that knows that company, or find somebody that finds somebody. Because if I just go knock on their door, they've got.
Is that what you actively try to do?
I do, yeah. And
is that for what reason? For what end?
Well, I mean, my goal now is to build market share in Cleveland. So I do that through networking, through banking more businesses than what we do now.
That's actively what you try to do.
And a lot of it,
that's why they hired you.
That's why they hired me. But you know this. I mean, because I've done deals for people that weren't your deals, that you just call me because you think I'm a decent guy and seem to like me enough.
Yeah.
And we've been able to connect, but that's how it works.
Biggest thing I've heard about everybody says about you is you're very they say you're very calm. Very, very, very calm. And what's the other word? I don't know. You seem to be confident in what you're doing and what you say you can do for them. Does that make sense?
Well, and I always try to follow through on that.
Well, evidently you do, because you didn't get there 30 years old.
It's been good, but this community's been good to me as well. Banking is an interesting industry. I don't know what else I would be doing. I'm fortunate to be in it.
What
but
about Joe? Isn't that something, just meeting Joe Waters that day? What was he doing?
we were leaving a UT football game and just ran into him.
I went to a UT football game with him.
What about that?
I stayed in a skybox with him. I don't watch football, but somebody invited me, so me and him ended up outside eating ice cream sandwiches.
Just ran into him one day, and that's how
Boy, he's a great guy,
He
isn't
is.
he? I mean, he's just a great guy.
he is. That's a good thing about the banking industry. Is there's a lot of good people in it.
Did you know him from Polk County? Because that's where he was from.
I did.
And his dad?
He's kind of a legend in Polk County. I mean, everybody around there knows him. And,
Everybody knows him, yeah.
yeah.
You know, I went up there one day. This is almost an embarrassing story. I forget what I was doing. I parked at the courthouse, and I ran in. It was one of those hot summers where I had on a hat and sunglasses, and I forget what it was. And you hadn't heard this, have you?
I haven't. I don't
This
know.
is a true story. So I ran in, and I was going to talk to Joe, and I said, I forget what it was about. I said, is Joe here? And they said, no. And so I said, okay. So I left, and I ran, got back in my car. I was probably double parked at the courthouse. And 2 police cars pulled up, Benton police cars. That girl had told them that a guy in sunglasses had come with a hat and was going to rob the police. So
Was it recently?
No, it's been probably 2006 or 7.
Did you get all the money?
No, I was just going in to say hi to Joe, and so I come back out, I get in the car, and these police cars pull up, and so I get out of the car, and I have no idea what they're, because I didn't even know I had sunglasses on. You know, it was summer. Back then, people wore sunglasses more than they wear now, and so the police said, what are you doing here? And I said, what do you mean what I'm doing here? About that time, Joe pulled up and said, oh, no, that's just Dee. He's just come by to see me.
What about that?
I hadn't been back in there. It sort of scared me, really.
Yeah.
But you get shot that way.
You know, they changed names. I've said First Volunteer. That is now Builtwell Bank.
Builtwell. It used to be,
Builtwell.
was it Simply Bank there for a while?
Well, there is a Simply Bank that
But
actually.
it was Builtwell, yeah.
No, that's 2 separate banks.
Okay.
They just
Builtwell is
First Volunteer.
Brad Sedgwick.
Yes.
Brad Sedgwick.
That's First Volunteer. So
Yeah.
Simply Bank, just recently, I'm speaking out of turn, it's public. Simply Bank just announced that they were selling, along with Capstar. Capstar Bank announced that they were selling.
That was like a merger of equals, I think, right? Or 1.3 EBITDA or something like that.
There are 2 different sales. I think actually the acquiring banks are kind of out of the same area, but they're not going to the same place, no.
Logan, I tell you what, I enjoyed working with you at Capstar, and of course I enjoy working with you at First Volunteer.
First Horizon.
First Horizon, I always call First Horizon.
It's all right.
And they're a good bank. They've been here for a long time. They got Adonia. They got you. They got good locations. They're just no problem. And I'm sure that y'all have got some reasons for thinking that the future in Cleveland is going to be around here a while, right?
Well,
in the banking business.
I think one of the reasons I got the opportunity as I do now is they saw and knew that I want to do this for a long time in this community. And that's the plan. I mean, I'm 30 and I really do. I think I'll retire from this position at this bank, ideally. And yeah, it's been great. I'll tell you one of the things that I've enjoyed about banking the most, and I would say not enjoyed, but enjoyed the most, is the relationships that I've been able to build with the people that I work with, you included. I mean, I consider you a friend, and you're one of the people like Jay and Jeff that I've got to learn from. And outside of banking, I've got into real estate investing because of you and people like you. So I mean that. I've enjoyed our relationship and look forward to it continuing, not only at the bank, but at a personal level as well. I've enjoyed this too.
Well, I tell you what, any bank that's smart enough to hire you is good for me.
Hey, take care.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.